Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sammy, United People's TV, here to have a full old debate with everybody about Benjamin Sesko. I've now looked at how to pronounce his name properly. Should probably looked at that, before I started talking about him. Anyway, going to run through all the news, confirmation from David Ornstein yesterday of the latest bid that's gone in. Fabrizio Romano followed up on that and said it was 90 million euros. However, we're going to be speaking about Sesko. We're going to be speaking about United's strategy. We're going to be speaking about what happens next. It feels like this is all going to get done in the next 24, 48 hours. And right now, feels like he's going to be going to Newcastle. It's going to piss off a lot of United fans, but maybe less than I think. We'll also run through the latest from The Athletic on exits on Højlund, on Melty McMeltus, on Garnacho, on Collier, Malacia. Going to run through all the news, right? Let's enjoy ourselves today. Get involved in the chat. I'll try and involve as many of you as I possibly can. Let's see who's here. Carl, good morning to you. Alex, you're there. Josh as well. We've got, what members we've got? Freddie Matfield, how you doing, buddy? We've got Shane Moore. We've got Jason James. Lots of non-members as well. I see some new faces joining in. We've got Jeff Hunter. We've got Paul Garcia. We've got I see me skimmed. I'll say it again. I'll say this every single day until everybody in the chat I can see has chosen a handle. Go to youtube.com/handle and can you please choose yourself a handle. YouTube is rolling this out across every single live chat. You may only see it in United People's TV now, but it will apply to every single channel you look at from now on. So get in there and choose yourself a handle. All right? It used to show usernames or channel names. It doesn't do that anymore. It shows your handle. And there's loads of them down there with random letters and random numbers and random everything. And it's very difficult for me to be able to read your name. So if you can, just choose your first name, a little dash in the middle, and choose your second name. And then I can see it all. And I can engage with it. It's annoying. Stop getting obsessed with people's names. Well, you can get muted then. Thank you very much. You're not going to be nice about it? I'll boot you out for a day. Boo. I enjoyed that. Nothing about getting obsessed. I want to interact with as many of you as I possibly can. And I'm just telling you that I can't do it unless you change your channel names. Well, your handles. All right? That's quite fun. Gave you a little countdown before I moved that on. Right. It's going to be an interesting conversation, I think, this morning. First thing I want to run through is this, right? And I probably should have done this, I'll be honest, about a week ago.
I would love to call me with my second name, so Sesko, but if it's a name, it can be Benjamin, yeah.
Okay.
So it's Sesko or it's Benjamin. I'm going to go for Sesko. So you're all correct. I should have added the H in. All right. Sue me. Anyway, Benjamin Sesko. United, if we sort of summarize where we were until last night, right? United wanting a striker this summer. United choosing Watkins or Sesko. Remember Laurie Whitwell, I think it was last week, came out with that report. And the very next day came out that United had chosen Sesko as our main target. He was who we were going after. Now, the reason United did that is definitely so we showed our interest was serious. What's happened since then? We know that Newcastle have gone in with a bid last week. Was it Friday, I think it was? Or was it Saturday morning? One of the two. 75 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. It's a lot of dough. And even at that price, even at that price, there was quite a lot of us that felt, I mean, that's a bit much. And even the price has gone up now. So I'm going to run through what has been reported yesterday from Craig Hope, who is the Daily Mail Newcastle correspondent. And if you don't know, he was first to the Isaac story and is very tight when it comes to Newcastle news. I'm going to run through what he reported first, followed up by David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano, and we're going to have a little debate in the chat, right? Newcastle make restructured offer to Leipzig for Sesko. They're pushing hard to agree a club record deal worth at least £70 million, which, what does that work out as? 80 million euros. It is not known what this... this is one thing I just look at when I see this, right? It is not known what the Slovenians camp have communicated to Man United. So Newcastle are sitting there putting in not one massive bid, but two massive bids for Sesko. And they don't know what United are doing. It's a really interesting position for Newcastle to put themselves in. But anyway, David Ornstein followed up on that with confirmation that the improved offer has gone in. Leipzig have received an improved offer for Newcastle to sign Sesko. The original bid was 75 plus 5. It's now gone up to at least 80 million euros. And then Fabrizio Romano followed on top of that, saying this. They've sent the official bid to Leipzig worth 90 million euros. 80 million euros plus 10 million add-ons. No decision yet from the player. What's your take on this? Where do you stand on this whole sort of Sesko conversation now? Because United still haven't put a bid in. United are sat there waiting. Jason saying it's a smokescreen, Sam. Classic, the transfer smokescreen. You're looking over here, but I'm actually signing this player over there. United are working on a midfielder and using him as a screen. I don't think Chris Favell would do that to a player who he signed to Salzburg as a teenager. I don't think he'd do that. I think United are definitely interested in signing him. But United are definitely not interested in getting involved in any sort of transfer merry-go-round. I don't know the right way to describe it. Certainly not interested in getting involved in any bidding war. A couple of you sent some super chats in. Let me read these out. And I'll head back down to read some other chats out too. Ants. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be signing that, Benjamin. Fan funding. Rex is saying 90 million euros rules us out. I think we were seriously considering 80 million euros for him. What midfielder could best fit United that would cost 80 million? We'll speak about the pivot I think that would happen if United did move away from him. Gemini, is anywhere I can get the intro music for my ringtone? It's fire. I was having a conversation with a mate the other day. Like, ringtones are kind of dead. Like, back in the day when you had a... We're going to show my age here. You're there with like... You're there with your Nokia 3210. You got your default ringtones. But if somebody came in with a little cheeky polyphonic ringtone, you would do. All of a sudden, you had a bit of Axel F. Anyway, everyone's just got silent or just standard ring now. It's over. The ringtone era is over. Someone down there saying, I would buy Watkins in a central midfielder. Freddie, you're saying it's getting crazy now. 90 mil is way too much. And Rex, you're talking about whether he confirms us. And look, it's so clear to me what United are doing with this Sesko situation. And for some reason, there seems to be some United fans who they either don't understand it, which I think they do, but they're angry that we've got to wait for something to happen. Right? What United are doing here is just sitting back and watching Newcastle. Newcastle are desperate. Capital D, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Their main player, who they had no intention of selling this summer, really no matter what the price was, unless it was one of those just outrageous 150 mil plus bids that they could, can't refuse that. They had no intention of selling a player who then handed in a transfer request and then trained on his own in Sociedad whilst the team went away on the pre-season tour. That's a big old grenade into a summer where they'd missed out on Cunha, they'd missed out on Abuma, they'd missed out on James Trafford, they'd missed out on every single target that they wanted. And then on top of that, Isak then puts in basically hands in a transfer request. They are desperate. And this is the club that Manchester United are going up against for Sesko. So what United are doing here is absolutely bob on, man. We are not going to lift a finger until you tell us that you want to join United. As soon as you do that, bid's on the table. Because as soon as he does that, it's exactly the same situation as Mbeumo. And this isn't just about only wanting players who want to play for Manchester United, which I actually think really should be a key part of the transfer policy. It's about taking out the opposition before you've even got to the negotiation table. Because if it's intimated to United that Sesko wants to join us, and by the way, he does. Like, who are Newcastle kidding, lads? Mate, you can try and convince yourself all you want, man. You really can. Yeah, you've got Champions League football next year, sure. Yeah, you've had an absolute spectacular summer. Sure. He would choose United in a heartbeat if the exact same offers were there on the table, but United will not put that offer on the table until he chooses. So this is the thing. He actually wants it the other way around. Leipzig want it the other way around. They want the bidding war. United aren't getting involved in that. We're just sitting back going, if you want us, tell us. Make it public. Then we'll come in with the bid. Dean Mizzle is saying Newcastle acting like City before their success. Yeah, back in the day. Remember when they lost, 8-1? Was it 8-1 to Middlesbrough? I think it was. Like Pogatetz was playing in that game. I think so. Right, let me see what else he's saying down here. Newcastle's desperation is seen in the way they put every detail in the media, unlike United. I don't particularly... I wouldn't say it's getting played out in the media any more than any other transfer that we've ever seen, but they're desperate. Newcastle are desperate. And when you're going up against somebody who is desperate or somebody who has nothing to lose, they're a dangerous proposition. They come with different energy. I wouldn't say different intentions, but different lengths that they're willing to go to get what they want or need. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with here. With a bloody 90 million euro bid. Because, ladies and gents, that is far in excess of what I think United should be paying for this man. Omar saying, Sam, we need to walk away from this deal. In fact, let's do a poll here. What's the question I want to ask? Because if I ask you, do you walk away from 90 million? It's a rhetorical question, and it's going to be like 100%. What's the max you pay for him? Just out of curiosity. Let's go for that. There, right? Daz, you're talking about that special club clause. We've heard that before, right? So basically, if you've not heard it, as part of Sesko signing a new contract with Leipzig, which I think was last summer, wasn't it? There was a clause in it that if like an elite or special club came along, then Leipzig would negotiate differently and maybe even reduce the price. I don't know. I don't get this whole idea that they would have reduced the price, because then why would you reduce the price for the biggest clubs when the biggest clubs are going to be the one that pay the most amount of money? It's a bit of a juxtaposition there, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's euros, pounds I put down. I put euros in because we're speaking about his price being 90 million euros, right? Alex, you're saying you're not comfortable United paying any of those amounts? Now, people are talking about this special club release clause of 60 mil. I don't know where... There's not been any number associated with that. And maybe United know this. Maybe it's true. Maybe United know exactly what that price is, and we don't have to go any higher. We don't even have to match what Newcastle are putting in. Because if he wants to join us, and this is probably the hilarious thing, actually. I honestly feel if it comes out and we get that Ornstein bomber saying exclusive, Sesko has told Newcastle that he wants to join Man United, I think we'd actually sign him for less than what Newcastle have actually offered there, which would piss Leipzig off. But as we've kind of grown to understand, like, players have far more power in transfers than I think they ever did before. Let me see what you're saying down here in the chat. 80 million euros was the limit. 90 million euros does equal around about 79 million pounds. Thank you very much for that. How confident are you right now that we end up with him? If he says he wants to join Man United and that's his choice, we will find a deal with Leipzig. And I don't think it's going to be for 90 million euros cash either. Who's that down there? You got Royce. How you doing, buddy? Can you name some midfielders that United might go for if they pivot away from Sesko? What chances do we have of them investing in midfield this summer? Then again with Wharton next summer. I will speak about Baleba in a bit, but it's just like really? Having conversations about that? Alex, you're down there. I can see you mentioning Angelo Stiller. Hasn't he gone to Leeds? I think he has. Agume and Kamara are a couple of options. There really are some Baleba alternative options that we could look at. I would say in the region of 30, maybe 40 million. There'll be a damn good midfield signing. It wouldn't be at the Baleba levels, no. But you pay the premium for that. Would you take Cheeto going on loan to Leipzig as part of the deal? I honestly hadn't thought of that. I'd only been really thinking about this. And this is effectively where I think United still have that trump card. Right? Leipzig this summer, I don't know much about Leipzig's finances. But from everything that I've read from journalists close to that club, there's 3 players that they look at as potentially being sold this summer to be able to reinvest into the squad. Number 1, Sesko. Number 2, Xavi Simons. Number 3, Openda. And all 3 of these players could technically leave them. Now, we've heard multiple times from different sources now that United are willing to sell Højlund and willing to listen to offers around £30 million. Someone there saying that Højlund will turn a move down. Højlund doesn't want to leave United. He's a massive United fan. He's at the club of his dreams. Even if it has been a bit of a nightmare so far. Well, the first season wasn't, but the second season was. He can see, oh my, okay, right, I'll tell you what, this is exciting. Because United is exciting, but it feels like this is the start of an actual rebuild with an actual strategy and an actual plan, rather than sort of tentative rebuilds that we've had before. Højlund won't want to leave that. But if he's told that he's not going to be part of it, that's a different story. And he won't be told that until we find out. We're still in the sort of the striker dominoes that's going down here. I'm going to keep reading a few of your comments out. Højlund would turn down a move like... I don't think he'd be happy about it, but I actually think Leipzig would be a fantastic club for him to sort... Not restart his career, but it's not a restart, but it's a fresh start. 22 in the Bundesliga. He could have a great few years, and then who knows what happens then. If he absolutely shines, he'd move to La Liga, might even move back to the Premier League. Højlund wants to stay, but if we don't want Højlund to stay, it's different. Do we sell Xerxes instead? No, I don't really think there's been any conversations about selling Xerxes, if I'm being completely honest. But my point here, right, is there is absolutely no way that United match a 90 million euro bid. In that sense, Newcastle have completely blown us out of the water, which is exactly their intention. And we know why, and I've said it and I'll say it again, they are a desperate football club. If their summer wasn't going bad enough, Isak leaving, and then on top of that, the idea that Isak left, and then they missed out on Sesko, and then this summer they didn't sign Cunha and Bumo, Sesko, all went to United. Their striker they didn't want to sell left and handed in a transfer request and moved to Liverpool, and they're left up shit creek with absolutely nothing apart from Aaron Ramsdale. And they can't have it. They need a victory with Sesko, hence why they're going over and beyond what United are going to be willing to pay. So from a financial perspective, even if we could compete at that price, we wouldn't compete at that price. It's just too much. Ekatike as well. Forgot about him. Bloody hell. They have had the summer of summers. They really, really do. Well, really have had, sorry. Especially after getting into the Champions League. It kind of goes to show you that getting into the Champions League isn't the be-all and end-all. What are we saying down here in the chat? 80 million is the price, not 90, 10 in add-ons. Right? Well, I think the thing that Leipzig have wanted is easy add-ons as well. So whether that would be hey, look, you can speculate about what the add-ons are. Could be X amount of goals for the club, X amount of appearances. We don't know. Haaland himself has said he wants to stay, but if the club don't want him to, then he could likely be gone. Of course, it's going to be a big part of it. Newcastle lost out on João Pedro as well. Man, look, mate, if you deal with desperate people in your lifetime, or people with nothing to lose, kind of invariably a lot of those people are the same people. They're very hard to deal with. Sometimes dangerous. And that's where United are at with Sesko. I'm really happy that United are adopting this position. Now, this isn't a direct consequence of what happened with Frenkie de Jong. But I like to think that that's being used as a bit of an example inside the club as to what we aren't doing here. We wanted de Jong all summer long. We even agreed a deal with Barcelona directly. Remember when Ornstein came out with that? Man United agreed a deal to sign de Jong from Barcelona. I think it was somewhere around £80 million. Don't know exactly what it was. It was there or thereabouts. The bloke never wanted to join. The bloke never wanted to leave Barcelona. So we literally just pissed up a wall for months. Oh, no. No. He'll change his mind. No, he won't. Oh, don't worry. We'll sign 70 million 30-year-old Casemiro instead. That's part of a strategy. No, that's a panic. That's what we're avoiding here. So you might be frustrated that Newcastle are going in one bid and Newcastle are going in with a second bid and where are United? And you can be frustrated if you want. But it's the right call. You're talking about de Jong as the owed wages and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe that played a part of it, but that was very easy to find that detail out if you're United and you're negotiating to sign a player. People down there talking about Watkins, and lots of people, right? And this is what I mean about there's plenty to talk about this morning. Like lots of people are doing this. It happened yesterday on Twitter. Lots of people saying, well, hold on here, Sam. If Newcastle are going to be bidding X, like say 80, 90 million for Sesko, well, surely United should just go after Baleba. And I'm like, peeps. Baleba is not leaving Brighton for less than £100 million. Would he be one of my top targets? I think he'll get held up as the perfect midfielder that we don't have. So yeah, I'd love to sign him. But Brighton will just literally follow the Caicedo playbook. 115, you could say, oh, Sam, there was a bidding war between Liverpool and Chelsea. Sure. But they're not going to let him go for less than 100 mil. Not this summer. I think you probably have more chance of it being... a cheaper signing next summer. It's someone down there saying, what's this hype over him? Those two players right there can be held up as the absolute prime examples of the physical box-to-box midfielder that every team needs if you're going to compete for the Premier League. I'm not just talking box-to-box, like great defensively, can cover, work under pressure, good at passing. The engine, it lasts for 90 minutes. The amount of ground coverage is insane. Great in the tackle, good for his teammates. Attackingly, aware in the attack as well. They're almost like complete midfielders. That's the midfielder that United are missing. Therefore, it's going to be held up as a perfect example. But it's going to cost north of 100 mil. It's just not possible. It's not even conceivable this summer. Wharton would be a little bit less, but still 75 mil north. My point is, get these midfielders out of your head. Because you're just going to hurt yourself. Rich is saying, Sam, I really like the new transfer stance we've adopted. Do you think it's come directly from Barada or Wilcox or both? I imagine it's a trickle-down effect. I imagine it's everybody on the same page. We don't want any player who doesn't want to play for Manchester United. Because if you just sign players who come for the wrong reasons, then they're not going to turn out to be the players you want. But that's not enough in itself. I really like the idea that United don't enter negotiations unless we know that the player wants to join. And that's why United sat there the whole time with the Mbeumo situation. It took us 6 weeks to sign a player who Arsenal were definitely interested in, who Newcastle wanted, who Spurs were interested in. And at no point during those 6 weeks did it ever turn into a bidding war. At no point. Why is that? Because he came out very early and he said, I want to join United. So no other club went in for him. That's what we're waiting for with Sesko, right? That's all we're sitting there. He's saying he's thought to be waiting to see what United do. It's the flip reverse, mate. You want to join United? You let us know. As soon as you let us know, this bid will come in. And I imagine if that bid does go in and we find out, I imagine it's going to be a one-time offer, including Højlund as part of it. And my guess, if I was to have a look down here at the poll, it's got 1,600 votes in, and you're saying that max you pay for Sesko is 70 to 79 million euros. I honestly do think that United would go in probably at 80 million euros, but including Rasmus Højlund as part of that. So what's 30? So if it was 80 million euros, what's 30 mil in euros? 34. So 34 of that is 46 million euros that we would pay for Sesko plus Højlund. That's what I think we would do. I think we go for a bid like that. Whether it gets accepted or not is different. But if he chooses United, then we've swiped Newcastle out of it. United can't be arsed with this bidding war nonsense. It's kind of part and parcel of United tax, by the way. Let me see what else is saying down in the chat. It's busy in the chat today. If you are new, make sure you do subscribe. I do always enjoy these chats we have every day. Jibak, you're saying we've had 2 big money signings this summer, considering our spending power. Time to focus on 20 to 30 mil signings and squad players that add depth. You're preaching to the choir there. It's why I was just surprised to see anything around Sesko in the first place. And especially those sort of figures. We're just not in a position. Hey, look, it could work out with him, man. It could. We're not really in a position to take that sort of risk. I think the risk gets minimized somewhat if you include Højlund as part of that deal. The actual cash outlay is significantly less. And if you imagine it was 46 million euros, and that's going to be spread over X amount of years, then the numbers kind of get even better and better. What are you saying down here? Baleba won't come cheap? No, it won't come cheap. If we do move on to a midfielder, it won't be either of these two, I'll tell you that. You can speak about Hayden Hackney. You can speak about Kamara. There will be other midfielders. There are other midfielders. What are you saying down here? They could get Hackney and Agume for the same price as Sesko, plus a goalkeeper as well. Who's Sesko's backup if we give Højlund away? I think probably Mbeumo, if I'm being honest. We saw Cunha play as a number 9 against Everton. I'd much rather see Mbeumo play as that central number 9. If I was going to pull out one main characteristic that I just want to see every single game from our players, our new players, from Cunha, it's the ball carrying. It's receiving the ball towards the halfway line and driving through the lines. I think that's going to be his greatest strength in this team. And Mbeumo's, it's going to be finishing. So play him as a central number 9. Play Cunha as one of the 10s. If we need an alternative to Sesko. No, to Højlund, if he was to leave. But of course, we're still going to be looking out for a striker. I honestly do think that it would probably be a case of spending money on a central midfielder and then probably getting a striker in on loan. The loan markets, there are options in the loan market. I'm seeing Nicholas Jackson getting linked with actually a loan with an obligation now, which is a little bit better than the nutty 80 million euros that was getting linked. But Who else is getting linked? Vlahovic is getting linked as well. Don't really know. Let's have a look down there. It's important to note with the potential strategy of Barada and Co. is build a team that can win the Premier League by 2028. This summer clearly focuses on the forwards. Yeah, I spoke about that a couple of days ago. Was it yesterday? That's what it feels like United are doing. Last summer, we spent a fair amount on the defence. This summer, we're going kind of all out on the attack. And then maybe next summer is where you go even more all out for the midfield. And you kind of do it. I get the logic, but I don't really understand why you have to split it like that. So it's almost like someone who gets their roast dinner and they they eat the meat before they eat the potatoes, before they eat the veg. It's like, you can mix it all. You can have that all together. You don't have to eat it all separately. I don't really understand the logic that we can't sign a midfielder this summer because we're just signing attackers. Or maybe it's because we need a complete midfield overhaul, but I think you can do more than one at once. Yeah, I know I've missed a couple of super chats. Don't worry, I'll be going back and reading them. Chat's been popping. Rex is saying Newcastle are desperate. So this is what it feels like to be on the outside of looking into a desperate club. Not a common feeling for a United fan. That's kind of a fair point. They really are desperate, though. I have to admit, if after all of this we get an Ornstein bomber that Sesko has chosen Man United and Newcastle left empty-handed, while I have to watch Alexander Isak then join Newcastle, and then I'd laugh. Newcastle on wages can't match United. We can easily. You're saying that we could easily give this guy 230 grand a week. He's not getting 230 grand a week. I don't think there's one signing we've made under Ineos that are getting more than 200 grand a week. The wage structure is very much getting back under control. Really is. There's no way that we would sign Sesko and he would earn that much money. Not a chance. Well, that's actually a really well-timed super chat there from someone called Swallow. Why didn't we get Osimhen? If the board knew we needed a striker, our midfield is weak. What's the point in having a striker when we don't have a good spine? Well, I've just answered why we didn't get Osimhen. Go and look at how much money he's on at Galatasaray and you'll be like, right, fair enough. So it's the only reason why no club was in for him, despite the fact that Arsenal needed a striker, Liverpool needed a striker, Newcastle needed a striker, Chelsea signed a striker. Did you see any of them really going after Osimhen? No. Because all of them had the exact same conclusion. Yeah, those wages, nuts. Off you pop, go to Turkey. What's the point in having a striker when we don't have a good spine? That's kind of what I said it's what I said about last season. Like, as bad as we were last season, if we had just been better at finishing, there's no way we would have finished anywhere near 15th. We created enough, even in our crappiest season in the Premier League ever, last season. I'd say pretty much every single game, we created one or two golden chances that a team with better strikers would have scored. And we wouldn't have finished 15th. Let alone creating more chances this year. We need the best in class. That's Baleba. No one's going to disagree with you that, right? No one is going to disagree with you. We just can't afford him this summer. There are limits to spending. Oh, I'm going to show you something now which will probably make you sick. British and Wolf is saying, think the reason why the Sesko bid hasn't been accepted is Red Bull want Rasmus, and they know if they sell to Newcastle, it'll be hard to get him. I don't know whether it's going to be the be-all and end-all of a deal, but it very much feels like Leipzig do want Højlund. I mean, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? At 22, they may be at different points in their career, but Højlund is the sort of ideal profile for Leipzig. I don't quite know how to describe it, but for me, on the outside looking in, would be like a perfect player for Leipzig, a club who has a great track record of developing younger players given them the support network, given them the environment in a competitive league, and watching them develop. They've done it with plenty. They've done it with Sesko. They did it with Haaland. They did it with countless others. Haidara. Remember Amadou Haidara? I suppose it's a little bit different there. Either way, I think the bid will go in. Ain't no way I want us to spend that much money. But you know what I said there about spending? Right. Who has spent the most in the Premier League so far this window? Look, this is from The Athletic this morning. Liverpool, of course, leading the way with 250 mil, but they've made 115 mil in sales. Chelsea, 240 mil spent, but 140 mil in sales. Arsenal have actually probably got the biggest gap. 192 mil spent, but only 7 mil in sales. So their outlay is huge. City, 153 mil spent, 31 mil in sales. United, 131.5 mil spent. I mean, I already knew this, but just when you see it visualized, it just hits home more. And especially when you just scroll down and look at the rest of the Premier League. Spurs made money, Sunderland have made money, Leeds have made money, Brighton have made money, Wolves made money, Burnley have made money, Forest have made money. It is quite literally one football club in the entirety of the Premier League who is sat with zero money coming from sales. And it's Man United. The only club. Do you know how bad that is? My God. People are talking about, so sell-on clauses don't exist. Dude, they're not from sales that we've made this summer. From the players that we have, we're doing a boot sale. We've got Garnacho sitting there, Sancho. So from all the players that we've had available for selling this summer, did Haaland didn't play for Leipzig, he played for Salzburg, my bad. Anyway, the Red Bull group. You kind of get what I mean. Of course, he played for Dortmund instead. Of all the players who were sitting on our boot sale table, none. And you wonder why we've got budget limitations. You'd wonder why we've got problems when it comes to this summer. Look, you've got the Athletic saying this in terms of other positions, right? What positions are we looking at? Other than up front, United have been assessing their midfield options, and Amram is keen to add more dynamism in the middle of the park. If I was to ask you, right, name one characteristic that you think Amram is putting at the top of his wanted list when it comes to a midfield signing. Dave Curran, I can see your new handle there. Lovely jubbly. Yeah. What does that mean? Add more dynamism in the middle of the park. If you were to name one characteristic about a midfielder, what is that? If you ask me, I think it's ground coverage. I'm not just saying sign a midfielder who just runs around like a headless chicken. But I mean a midfielder who, from the first to the 90th minute, has the ability to chase a ball down, has the ability to close gaps between him and opposition players. I think that's got to be like, how do you define that? Someone's down there saying box to box. Box to box for me incorporates more than one thing. Ball carrying, for example, is a very specific thing. I don't think it's ball carrying. Tenacious, athleticism, box to box, athletic, press resistant. Someone's saying down there. A James Milner type, a press-resistant playmaker. Constant movement, Kante style, box-to-box, you can cover ground and distribute. Well, that's more than one, so you're cheating there. I do think it's written as dynamism there. It's just somebody who ends the game, and somehow it doesn't even look like they've been sweating. Like, how in the world does he still look like he's got that much energy in the 80th minute? That doesn't make any sense. We need to sign the defensive midfield physical freak equivalent of Bruno Fernandes. I think that's kind of what we need. You know, Bruno still, every single game, doesn't matter how many games he's bloody playing, he still runs around like Bruno. He's still got the energy levels of Bruno. We need that in a defensive-minded midfielder. It's mad. I think that's what we need. And you're saying it's a player with an engine who's comfortable taking the ball. I said one thing. You can't say 5 different attributes. I know it's all of these. But if you're going to because we might not be able to sign that midfielder who, quote unquote, is a player with an engine who comfortable taking the ball from defence, turning and driving at teams, and playing breaking line breaking passes. We're probably not going to be able to afford the exact midfielder we want this summer. So who can we get with maybe if we identify like 1 and 2, like the top 2 things we want from a midfielder? I think it has to be to do with physical capability. Can you do that for 90 minutes every single week for an entire season in the Premier League? Yes or no? I think that's who we need. Then ideally you get that midfielder who could do everything, but I think that midfielder comes next summer. D Mizu saying failed United players aren't elite equals kills value. Failed United players. Who are you talking about? Holland? I don't know that. I don't know who you're talking about. Bruno Fernandes. Fred. I remember doing that interview with Fred. He was class for that. Remember that on the channel? Fred was great, but Fred was misprofiled like Scott McTominay was. We had a double pivot of 2 midfielders, and neither of which were pivot midfielders. Both Fred and McTominay wanted to be in the opposition's half, and that's where they were at their best. But instead, they spent a lot of time trying to receive the ball from their defenders first, and like, well, fucking hell, what am I supposed to do here? And neither of them really could operate in that role. Richie is saying, could you do a sort of a video on some midfielders who have these attributes? I'm going to talk about the team. We've already done one on midfielders early this summer, but I might re-look at it and then sort of pick it up again. And in terms of the goalkeeper there, we all know, unless someone comes in for Bayindir, nothing's really going to be happening with goalkeepers this summer. So, and I don't see anybody coming in for him yet. Now, let's speak about exits, right? This is the latest from The Athletic, okay? Sesko brings Haaland's future into question, and we already know that. Offers of 30 mil will be considered. Garnacho is the subject of interest from Chelsea, and that's the first thing to speak about. Like, Chelsea, just put a damn bid in, man. I already spoke about this yesterday, about my frustrations, that it feels like Garnacho and his agent are just sitting there, just firing off any interest from Germany or Italy or Saudi or any other club. Now we want Chelsea. We just want Chelsea. And that's the only team we want. But we know Chelsea are trying to lowball us. And then you look at this, right? Everton going to make an improved offer for Tyler Dibbling. So Chelsea, let me just get this straight. Like we're United now. We're sitting at the negotiation table with Chelsea for Garnacho. All right, lads, how you doing? Yeah, I hate you too. Fuck you as well. Anyway. So you want to give us £30 million for Garnacho? That's the price where you genuinely think he's worth. Yep. Okay. So how would you sort of justify the fact that Everton are bidding £40 million for a 19-year-old who scored 2 Premier League goals last season? I don't have 2, 3, no idea. Single figures. Who just got relegated last season. And you think that Garnacho is worth 10 million less than him? Come on. I'm ready to hear your justification. Yeah. If Garnacho really is serious about it, he better wake up, smell the coffee, and get his agent to make Chelsea put in the right bid, because United will not be accepting a lowball bid just to move Garnacho on. You know, we hear about compromise. I actually think the compromise on Garnacho is where you make an example of him. But at the same time, Garnacho is where we can probably make the most money. James is saying we should go for Dibbling. I've always said that Dibbling will be a Premier League player next season. I'm kind of surprised that more clubs haven't gone in for him. And I don't exactly think he'll have the greatest time at Everton. But anyway. Garnacho's 50 mil. This twat. Dortmund still want to do a deal for him. Yeah, all right, good. Let's see what happens. Man, such an unwanted player. The amount of teams that just blue balls Sancho. Oh, yeah, we want you. Nah. Oh, yeah, we want him. Nah. Only joking. I'm actually going to put a bid in. Sod that. It's a buyer's market because of that leak. I think it's pretty obvious. I suppose you could all speculate about the stuff that's happened with Garnacho outside of that leak. But yeah, the leak definitely didn't help United. And people tried to put that on Amorim. You remember that? Weird behaviour that was. Chelsea know they can profit off Garnacho if it doesn't work out. Mate, look at bloody like Dewsbury Hall, man. They paid 30 mil for him. And I swear, how many times did he even play for that football club? I don't even know. And now they're selling him for like 25 mil plus add-ons to Burnley, which is effectively just getting the money back. It's mad. Mad. Speaking of goalkeepers, though, right? Let me quickly just explain this little merry-go-round. Botafogo have reached an agreement with Bournemouth to sign Neto. Why is that important? Because West Ham are advancing to key stages of a John deal with Botafogo. Now, he was a goalkeeper who has an $8 million release clause, and United were being linked with a move for him. I think if Bayindir was leaving, but as it stands, nothing's happening. So it looks like John's going to be going to West Ham, kind of rules United out of that one. Yeah. I just want to finish with just by going back to this for a couple of minutes, because it's definitely it feels like, this is my prediction. If Sesko comes out and says he wants to join United, we're going to go in with a bid. It's not going to be all let's enter a negotiation period. It goes, this is our top offer. Like, there's no point wasting any time here. The league starts in 10 days or so. This is our highest offer, and this is a one-time offer. It's there for 48 hours, 72 hours. It is what it is. But if that doesn't happen, United will pivot away, and I'll be very interested to see where that pivot goes. I think there's two directions you could go. Number one, you could go towards Ollie Watkins. And we know that won't be an easy set of negotiations. I think they're going to try and charge 50 mil plus. It would depend if Watkins was to put in a transfer request and try and force the move. That would drive the price down and help United. There's no guarantee that he would do that with Villa. But I'll be interested to find out if United actually shift their energies towards a midfielder. And then maybe later in the window we could, hey look, Kolo Muani might be available on loan. You've got Vlahovic, who I don't particularly agree is going to be a good signing on loan. But there are other potential loan strikers. Douglas Luiz could happen in midfield. We don't quite know. But I'm just going to be interested to see where United pivot towards if it comes out that we do move away from Sesko and he goes to Newcastle. And Newcastle, look, congrats. If you sign him for 90 mil and it works out, but boy. You better hope that does. I mean, you could say it's a similar sort of gamble that they took with Alexander Isak when he joined from Sociedad. I think that was for 60-odd million pounds. And that was a gamble that worked out. You gamble enough times, though, you eventually lose. That's why casinos exist. Alex, you're saying you're praying that United pivot towards midfielders. Jamie Vardy, somebody ban Fall Guy from the chat. I think I might just spontaneously combust if somebody tries to properly link Vardy with us. I'd actually cry. 50 mil for Watkins is better than 75 mil for Sesko. Or Sesko, sorry. Man, 50 mil for Watkins. I think would I be upset if we signed Watkins and then for 2 years we had a striker who scored the best part of 20 Premier League goals? I wouldn't even be slightly upset. But I do think 50 mil that's a lot. It's a lot to spend on a 29-year-old who's turning 30. So is 40 mil, I suppose, when you say it like that. And I think you all will know who I chose as my preferred option, and my preferred option was Watkins. Simply because of the strategy behind it, because I thought it would have left us with more leeway to then go out and sign a midfielder. Let's find out. Newcastle are desperate. They put in a €90 million bid. United, as it stands, are doing nothing in consequence. Southampton make a counter bid to Everton. Southampton want 50 mil. But you know how United waiting for the Mbumo deal actually hurt us in the negotiations because more stuff happened in the market that then gave Brentford the justification to keep driving the price up and say, no, we're not going to accept it. That's exactly what's happening here, but in a good way for Manchester United, Chelsea and Garnacho. Chelsea feel that they can sit and wait and wait and wait and wait and sort of take the piss out of United with putting the money in for Garnacho. But instead, stuff's happening in the market, such as Southampton telling Everton that they want 45 mil plus 5 mil in add-ons and the 25%. And that's what they're trying to charge for Dibbling? You ain't getting Garnacho for less than 50 mil, lads. Cough up. Laugh at me all you want. There's no way that Garnacho goes for less, that should go for less than that much money. Anyway, we'll end on that. I do enjoy these chats in the morning. I know we don't always disagree, but I like to have a conversation with you all. Ami saying we gave PSG the money to buy João Pedro and took their rubbish. I know you're not happy with Ugarte. Hey, look, I still think Ugarte can be a decent squad player for United if used in the right games and the right environment, but he's not going to be the perfect number 6 for Ruben Amorim. Not in every single game, not if we're trying to control the games of football. But I do think he can be a good squad player. All right, thank you all for tuning in. If you are new, please do consider subscribing at this point. Lunchtime video today is going to be just my opinion, a concise video on Sesko, because I very much expect this whole thing to be wrapped up probably by this time. I'd say next 48 hours it's wrapped up either way. Either Newcastle agree a deal to sign him, or he chooses United and we put a bid in. That's what I think. All right. But yeah, I'll see you at lunchtime today. And if any big news breaks, you know where to come because I'll be here. Take it easy.